have want to find out your knowledge about this course. So these questions are meant for you to read through and then provide the answers in the chat box. Example, you say number one, say fidgeting, dawdling, or slouching in the chair can be signs of what? So you go to the chat box and quickly put in your answer. Number one, is it A? Is it B, C, or D? Then like that. I hope we get what I'm trying to pass across. So this is like a mirror for us to understand your familiarity with the course and also to be able to give you a view of what you're supposed to learn on this course. So quickly to the chat box, let's put in our answers to the question. We have question one. I will read it out and then we will move that way. Question one says fidgeting, dawdling, or slouching in the chair can be signs of dash. A says boredom, B says lack of interest, C says fatigue, D says all of the above. That's number one. Number two, how many muscles does it take to smile? So how many muscles does it take to smile? Okay, are we done with number one and two so that we'll move to the next one? How many muscles does it take to smile? Okay, I think we can move. Number three says, what is an open question? A question that is open for interpretation. B, a question that is used to open a speech. C says, a question that will get a simple answer like yes or no. Then D says, a question that encourages people to talk. What is an open question? What is your answer to number three? So let's move on to number four. Number four says, which of the following is an indication that someone is an active listener? If somebody is an active listener, which of them will indicate that the person will do? It says the person will give non-verbal cues to nodding their head. So if the person is an active listener, the person is able to give non-verbal cues, like nodding their head. B says they say things like, okay, go on, etc. C says they paraphrase what was said to them. D says they ask questions for clarification, and E says all of the above. I can see some answers already in the chat box. Let's go to the next question quickly. 5 says, eye contact with your audience while speaking builds trust. Eye contact with your audience while speaking builds trust. A says true, and then false. Number 6 says, which of the following is the term used to, is a term given to the phrase, do unto others as you will have them do unto you? Okay, which of these applies to this? Is it the boomerang rule? Is it the golden rule? Is it the reciprocal rule? Is it the diamond rule? Number 7 says, when trying to persuade someone, clients will often believe written words more than verbal words. Is that true? Will clients believe written words over verbal words? That's for number 7. And then number 8. Let's go to number 8. You don't have to be sensitive to others in order to be a good communicator. Is it true? Is it false? Number 9 says, which of the following situations will require the use of a question? Which of the following, situations will require the use of a question? A says, if you want to get information, it requires a question. If you want to solicit opinion, it requires a question. If you want to focus a conversation, it requires, and then this is all of the above. Which of them do you think will require a question? And then number 10 says, with practice, I can become better at remembering names. With practice, I can become better at remembering names. A says true and B says false. What were your answers? So I can see lots of people with their different answers in the chat box already. So, and in order to just save our time, I'm going to go over to the answer section to this question. So please cross-check and then mark yourselves and then indicate what you got in the chat box so that we can see how we can grade that. So number one answer says all of the above, compare. Number one answer says all of the above. Number two answer says 14 Moses. Number three answer says a question that encourages people to talk. That is what it means by an open question. Number four says all of the above. Number five says true. Number six says the golden rule says do unto others what you will want them to do to you. Number seven is false, eight is false, and then nine is all of the above, and 10 is true. So quickly just mark yourself, all right? And let's see what you got. And then if you got a 10, you know, just show us your best emojis in the chat box. If you got a 9, show us your second best emoji. If you got a 7, give us your third best emoji. Okay, someone got 8 over 10. That's correct. That's beautiful. So give us your second best emoji. So, I hope we were relaxed a bit during these questions, and we hope to get to learn more and understand even those ones that we couldn't get. That is why we are here. That is why we are doing this morning, so that it will give a clearer picture on communication strategies. So thank you very much, and over to the next session. Okay, somebody got 8 over 10. Well done, 8 over 10. Wow. Okay, a lot of 8 over 10. All right, so let's move over to section 1, which is talking about the course overview. So what do we mean by course overview? All right, so this simply gives you a picture into what the course is all about. At the end of the communication strategies, what will be your take home? What will you carry home, carry to your workplace, carry to your house, carry to your neighborhood when it comes to communication? These are some of the objectives of this course. So at the end of it, number one, say we should be able to identify common communication problems that might be holding you back. All right, so are there times where you lose a particular opportunity, or after you have spoken with someone, you just get back to the house and you're like, I hope I didn't miss it. Or you're like, oh, I have wasted this opportunity because of the way I presented it in terms of communication. So at the end of this course, you should be able to identify some common problems, so you will know that these are where my problems are coming from, so you can be able to work on them. So this course will open your eyes to the simple little communication hinges that at times end up costing us a lot in our lives. So number 2 says we're going to develop skills to ask questions that give you information you need. Like one of the pre-course assessments says, which will you prefer? An open-ended question, how is it like? So you'll be able to understand that sometimes it's not just a yes and no answer you need, but you need to structure a question in such a way that will we help someone unveil or speak up and express themselves for better understanding. So we're going to develop such skills to asking questions that are probing worthy. So number 3 says we're going to learn what your non-verbal messages are telling others. Okay, so non-verbal messages, those body languages that sometimes have become part of you unconsciously, express them, and people are like, okay, this is what this person is trying to say. So you know the advantages of these body languages and the disadvantages, and then you begin to know how to put them into practice, use them maximally to achieve a better result. You also, at the end of this course, your skills will be developed to become a good listener and a one that is very empathetic. You know, we're going to understand the difference between sympathy and empathy and how to maximize empathetic listening for, boost of relationship among people and within your circle. And number 5 says you're going to enhance your ability to handle difficult situations. All right. So through communication, one word that you might speak alone has the ability to dissolve a mountain in someone's life. Or one word alone that you speak, an impression you have made, can also create a mountain that you might sometimes be unable to scramble throughout your life. So this course is going to help you to enhance your ability to be able to handle difficult situations in the way you speak and act toward them. Then it's also going to help you to deal with situations assertively. Thank you very much. So these are the objectives of this course. I hope that at the end of this course, you should be able to take something home. Nonetheless, we might not actually go detailed into this because presentation is scheduled for 2 hours and there's a lot to cover. Nevertheless, we have opportunities where you can still be able to go through all of it, and that will be announced to us during the course or at the end of this presentation. So let's move on to the next slide. So the section 2 says, look at the objectives. We're going to start looking at creating positive relationships. Positive, we need each other. And it's not just enough for us to, just wake up, look at somebody and just pass like that. We are rational, we are relational people. So we need to know how we need to know how to create these relationships that are positive to ourselves, our work, our family, and the society at large. So one of the ways in which we can start creating positive relationship is by speaking to people. When we speak as higher animal, we tend to express ourselves more. So when you speak to people, it gives them a room of friendliness. There are 2 principles about human life, the flight and the fight. So in cases where you don't speak to someone, it's as if you are in a silent battle with the person. So when you speak to people in such a way that is welcoming and friendly, it's not just a normal greeting. Hi, hello, good morning. How was your night? Has a long way to create an image of friendliness, and as well go a long way to make a connection to you for later in life. So you smile at people. All right. So these are some basic things that sometimes we don't know that they have a long way to affect our lives. So when we smile at people, it creates an atmosphere that is friendly. Then call people by name. Thank God this culture has been inculcated in our schools these days. I remember when I was young, you dare not call a teacher in school by their names, But now we are free to do that. Nonetheless, I have a question about this call names later in the course. So be friendly and helpful. It doesn't drain your personality if you could just extend a hand to someone. So be cordial, be genuinely interested in people. Don't fake it. In as much, even if this is holding somebody's hand to cross the road, then be generous with praise, cautious with criticism. Give out praise without holding back when the need arises, but as well, if there's need for criticism, do it with in a positive way that will not leave the person devastated. Then be considerate with the feelings of others, understand people's emotions, and learn how to work. Be allowed to give service and practice your positive sense of humor. there's something specific about you that when you just put out, it makes the atmosphere that was so tense to become very, very conducive. So smile, speak to people, call name. These are some of the ways in which you can create positive relationship with others. Okay, so there are some self-defeating talks and then self-uplifting talks that we have here. When difficult situations are presented before you, what do you do? Do you say there's nothing we can do about this? Or you look at it critically, you discover that there's always a way, like the saying, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So you can either say there's nothing we can do, which is a self-defeating talk, or you can say, let's look at other choices. Then it's better to say we can try something new than saying they won't allow that. It's better to say I can't. Sorry, it's better to say I will than to say I can't. It's better to say we can. And it's better to say from here on than if only, if only, that means you have locked the possibility of anything fruitful coming out of this situation. But you can put it in a better way by, okay, from here on, how do we now move forward? All right. So over to session 3, where my fellow instructor is going to take over from here. Thank you very much. My name remains Patient, and we'll see later in the presentations. Thank you. Over.
Yeah, thank you, Patient. I appreciate you so much. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, my name is Anthony.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Anthony, and I'm going to take us through the section 3 and the section 4 of this meeting. I want to appreciate Roy and all other co-facilitators for this wonderful outing. Now we've gone through the course overview. I believe we now know our take home after this particular meeting. We've also looked at the creating positive relationships, which was handled by my colleague, how we can develop a positive relationship. Okay, now we are going to look at growing our self-awareness. How do we grow our self-awareness? You need to be aware of yourself for you to be good in communication. Next slide, please. Now, when we look at growing our self-awareness, we are talking about our competencies. What do we do well? What do we not doing well? And there are some questions that might arise in our minds, maybe on our meeting with people, on our association with people. Some of the questions we've tried to line list so that we can see if it really concerns us or the other person beside us. But we should be aware that in all, for you to be aware of yourself, you need to develop a level of confidence, which is the ability to express ourselves well and to keep our composure in difficult situations. You know, you might see yourself in a situation where you are not comfortable or where you are not expected to see yourself, but you need to also develop confidence for you to be in that position and be competent in what you are doing. Now, when you look at some of the questions line listed, we are going to take a few of it. When you are concerned that you are not doing enough, when it has to do with your supervisors or your co-workers, you might be your mind, you might not ask it out. This is always working at the mind. If you look at that, that means your competence is not really really good. Or when you are saying, after I have had a conversation with someone, I sometimes feel if I have said anything that might be offensive to the person might not show it or might not speak it out, but inside you might be asking this question. This is about to know your competence. If you are competent enough, and if you are really aware of yourself, Thirdly, you can ask a question. I am frequently in a position of trying to counteract a bad impression. I believe I've not made a mistake. You know, these are questions that might arise. You can also see questions that you really worry about being considered by others as misinformed or ignorant on things. You know, really, when you're talking about competence, you're looking at the reactions of people around you and your co-workers or your superiors. And then you can also look at questions when you are in a social situation and you are not concerned about following rules and being self-conscious. You know, when you deal with all these questions, you are really asking if you are competent enough in communicating with people around you. Next slide, please. Now the questions also continues when you say, I intend to fret, that others may think I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe when you are doing a presentation and you might be thinking that because of the threat around you, that people might be thinking that you don't know what you're doing or you're not doing it well. These are the questions that might arise. You might also fear that others might not see you doing adequately or being adequately disciplined. Maybe in your manner of greeting them, approaching them, interacting with them, they might be believing that you are not disciplined. But you shouldn't worry. After this meeting, you will develop a level of competence that will marvel you. I promise you that. And looking at the next one, you usually wonder whether your co-workers think that you are not putting up enough time or enough energy into the work or the job you are doing. This is another question that might arise, depending on the situation you find yourself or the environment you find yourself. Also, you can be avoiding criticism from some people because of judgment for fear of appearing wrong. Remember, you can't always be right, but from the wrong aspect of you develop to be right. So you shouldn't be afraid of people, passing a judgment that you are right or wrong. And then lastly, you can also worry about others, maybe when they laugh about your ideas. Don't believe that you are not good when they laugh about it. Always believe in yourself. And for us to do all these things, or for us to develop and then to develop a good competence, we need one thing. And that thing takes us to the next slide. Thank you. Next slide. Hello, next slide. Okay, the next slide is coming up. I don't think the network is really acting up.
Okay, I'm already on the next slide. So I think developing confidence.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, when you look at it, for us to grow our self-awareness of us, to be aware of ourselves very well, we need to develop confidence. And in communication, we can be, hampered by our own fears or failures or embarrassment, not necessarily because we lack good expertise in communication, but because we lack confidence in ourselves. So we need to develop confidence for us to have a good communication skill and for us to communicate better with other people around us, both at our working place and both around our families and our environment. And to get better communicating and or to get better at communicating or developing a good communication skill, there are few things that we can do to develop confidence. Remember, we are talking about growing our self-awareness. What is the first thing you need to do? You need to fake it until you make it. What do we mean by that? You have to be confident even though you are not. For example, you see yourself in the field or in a stage where you have to, address hundreds of audience. You need to be confident at that time, even though within you, you are not. But you need to, at that point, develop it. And then you don't even say something that is not true to cover what is not true. No, you just have to say it the way they are, but you have to say it in a braver way so that they can believe and they can in trust that you are confident in what you are saying. At that time, your brain might not know what is different from what you are saying, but after, you will find yourself feeling braver when you do it over time. And that is what we mean by fake it until you make it and become a better person. Now, secondly, you have to be well prepared. What do we mean by that? Please, if you are aware, for somebody to be prepared means that you know what you are about to present. For example, you're going for presentation, you're going for a meeting, you're going to talk to audience. Please, you have to be prepared. You have to get what you need to know, the facts, the figures, the details that you need, so that you can be so bold when you're speaking to them. So that you don't fear any embarrassment, and so that you can be so confident in yourself, and people will take you for who you are. Now, the third one is you need to learn how to relax. Now, this is one issue that people, and mostly people have during communication. Now, for you to develop confidence, you need to relax, especially few minutes or an hour before the meeting or presentation. You need to be very relaxed about the situation. Whether you're about to have a conversation or to make a presentation at a meeting, learn how to relax so that you can enjoy what you are doing. Remember, when you're not enjoying what you are doing, you tend to be less confident in it. But when you are enjoying it, you can be so confident in it, both during visualization, when you are making a presentation, or doing things that people around you have to look at you and concentrate on you. How do we relax? By taking a deep breath and then practicing the material and then taking a walk. People need to take a walk a few minutes before a meeting. It makes you feel relaxed. Then lastly, you need to be consistent. Simply said, when you are making a presentation for a group of people, let your body language and what you are presenting, let it coincide, let it be something that is working hand in hand. There are some nonverbal messages that your body might be sending, your eye contact, and some other body languages. Let it support what you are saying. Let it support what you are presenting. Let it match your face so that your face will match with your voice. That is what consistency means. Next slide, please. Okay, that is the little we have for session 3. I believe most of us will go for a better full package of this training, which will come later. But for now, we're going to section 4. Section 4 is basically developing communication basics. These are the basics of communication. So we need to develop them so that we can be a good communicator. Now, the question there is, what do you think? How do you define a person or a good skilled communicator? Or simply said, what is definition of a skilled communicator? When you have to say this person is a skilled communicator, how do you define the person? I know most of us will have so many definitions as it regards the environment or the place we'll find ourselves. Some people might say somebody that can express him or herself well. Yes, that's okay. But I don't think that is a holistic definition. Others might say people that are believable, people that are trustworthy, or people that are authentic. These are individual definitions, which all of them are really correct. Others can say a skilled communicator is a good listener, somebody that can listen well, somebody that can capture what the presentation is going on, somebody that can refer back to what has already been said, which made him a good listener, and that person can be called a skilled communicator. And others can say also that is somebody that is sensitive to the needs of others. This is generally speaking. These are all definitions that might come up as skilled communicator. Anyone you decide, anyone you define, all of them are very, very correct. So what we need to do is anybody that can express himself very well, anybody that is trustworthy, believable, that is a good listener, and sensitive to what the next person is passing through, we call the person a skilled communicator. Now, taking us to the next slide, on your own as a participant or as a communicator or somebody that is about to make a presentation, think about a time when you attended a meeting or when you are preparing for a presentation, and as at that time you are at your best. You did very well, you are applauded. The question is now, what did you do? What did you do at that point? If you can be able to answer that question. The next one says, how do you act? How do you act when you see that you are at your best? I believe this is an individual thing. You can note it down because there will be a question time at the later part of this presentation so that we can do justice to them. Now, another part of it is think about a time when you are at your worst as a communicator. Maybe you went for a meeting and you are doing a presentation, and in your mind, that is the worst time of your presentation. You still ask the same question. What did you do? And how do you act? Or how do you feel? So these are the personal things we need to ask. And then if you can be able to decipher the answers to this, you will definitely develop your good skill of communication. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a little enlarged. When you think of someone you know who is an excellent communicator, you've been to an event when there was a presentation that was made, and in your mind, the person did excellently well in communicating with people. You call the person an excellent communicator. Now, there are questions that might come up in our mind, which we'll have to answer for us to do better and be a better person. The first question there is, what makes that person stand out to you? The person is better than you. So what makes the person to stand out? Okay, and you have to note those qualities that make the person to stand out to you. Secondly, what things are they doing that we could learn from? These are the things that, what is it that the communicator did well that I can learn from and make myself a better person? This is a question that you also need to answer after you must have listed the excellent things that made him stand out from you. Now, thirdly, you still ask the question, do you also see things in them that they could learn to make themselves even better as a communicator or as they are communicating? When you look at them, there might be little things that you must have listed that if they do it, they will become a better communicator than what they are presently at the point where you met them. When you be able to find out those things, you can also apply it to yourself. You see yourself being an excellent communicator as you term the next person. Okay. At this point, I want to say thank you to you for listening. I will invite my colleague Patience to take us on a session of ice break. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for this wonderful presentation. These are questions that we would have loved you to put the answers in the chat box, but I'm very sure we came into this workshop with our pens and our papers to jot things down. So just go over these questions, ponder over them, and see if you can arrive at answers. Nevertheless, in the full package of this course, some of these questions, some of the clues and cues are already outlined. So there's still opportunity for you to have them on the full package of the student manual on this course. So we want to just relax a bit. The facilitators have been the ones talking. So we want to give us this opportunity now to express ourselves about what we think a strategic communication is with this following question. You can put the answers in the chat box, and then no answer is right. Sorry, no, there's no wrong answer, sorry. So you can just express yourself, tell us your own opinion about what these questions are. And then we have the first one here, says, change these questions to open-ended questions. So we have two types of question. We have the open-ended and the closed-ended. So example of some of these things written here are examples of closed-ended question. So if I ask, do you enjoy eating beans? Your answer can be yes, your answer can be no. Are you satisfied with your role in this organization? Probably your supervisor is asking that. The answer can be yes, the answer can be no. And then, do you like rainy or sunny days? The answer can be yes, the answer can be no. So we want you to change these questions into open-ended. You know, we don't want you to ask these questions and get a yes or no answer. So how will you restructure these questions to probe or to make someone open up and speak more on their likeness for eating beans, on their satisfaction in the role they play in the organization, and whether they like rainy or sunny days? We have about 15 minutes for this. So this is question one. Change the questions to open-ended questions. Someone has already put in, how do you enjoy eating beans? Okay, then let's keep on with the answers. So let me move to the next icebreaker as well. Oh, wait, let me just give like 5 minutes for this. Let's attend to this quickly as we move. Do you enjoy eating beans? Change it to an open-ended question. Are you satisfied with your role in this organization? You know, this might be a question from a supervisor or the CEO or the director. So let's help change them to, or probably you are even the one in charge and you want to find out about someone's desires about a particular thing. So let's quickly do that. We have 4 minutes left on this particular question. Do you like rainy or sunny days? Let's work that out quickly. So I'm going to be going over to the chat box to read people's comments. I can see Hadizen already putting up that. Okay, so question one, he says, this is how he puts it in an open-ended question. How do you enjoy eating beans? Okay, Tuesday, he said, describe the satisfaction you get from your role in this organization. Interesting. And then how do you feel about eating beans? Okay. Okay. This is fantastic answers. Then we have one from Orike. Says, how can you describe your love for beans? Wow. And how do you feel about eating beans? How do you feel about eating beans? Okay. Let's do the question 2 and 3 as well. Okay. Are you satisfied with your role in this organization? Do you like rainy or sunny days? Okay, let's read more of the responses. We have 2 more minutes left for this particular icebreaker. Okay, and Deborah said, how can you rate your satisfaction in your present role? Wow. This sounds like a jump question. Anyway, Emmanuel Chidi says, what can you say about your role in this organization? Interesting. So when we ask open-ended questions, it gives people opportunity to open up, you know, unveil some hidden tendencies and then desires, likes and dislikes for us to, you know, be aware of. So we have, let's say, 1 minute, 30 seconds left for this particular icebreaker. Let's keep the answer coming in. I really want us to participate so that we'll see how far we are moving. What do you feel about your role in this organization? This is from Nancy Ede. Then Olubukola says, what's your take on your role in this organization? Wow. In this organization, how will you evaluate your role? Interesting. Okay, Emmanuel says, how do rainy or sunny days affect you? Okay, fantastic answers here. And I hope the rest of us are also, learning. So let's give 30 seconds more so that we can move to the next icebreaker. TikTok, TikTok. We are so many here. We're about 27, and I would really want us to participate. 15 seconds to go on this particular one. Okay. How do you feel about your role in this organization? Very, very interesting and correct answer. This is from Mamuho. Then Olubukola says, why will you prefer a rainy or a sunny day? I love this one. Why will you prefer a rainy or a sunny day? Damn question. Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay, someone said, let me just read this one quickly from Chidi. I think it should be, what do you prefer your weather in a day? Or how do you prefer, what is preferred, your weather? I think you should just rephrase that so that we can have a better understanding. So let's move to the next icebreaker. It says, now, number one says, how will you identify confidence in a person in less than 1 minute? If you look at a person so far that we have gone through session 1, 2, 3, and 4. In 1 minute, you look at someone, will you be able to identify their confidence? How? Just tell us something. Okay, so what is your preferred daily weather? Okay, interesting. What is your preferred daily weather? This one, I think it needs another question to it, Chidi, to be able to put it better in a more open-ended. But let's move on to this next one. Number one says, how will you identify confidence in a person in less than 1 minute? What are those cues or clues that will tell you that, wow, this guy got it when it comes to confidence? How will you be able to do that in less than 1 minute? Just give us some clues in the chat box. And then number two says, choose words from the listed and construct one self-lifting sentence to reflect your take on dealing with people and setbacks. So what are the words? The words are choices, there, at, nothing, do, can, look, let, they, is, with, us. So choose some words and construct a self-uplifting sentence. Okay, I can see some answers trooping in from the first question. Someone says, how you'll be able to identify confidence in a person is you look at their composure, eye contact, their gestures. Okay, this is from Emmanuel Hadi. You have I in B says you can identify it by their composture and then their eye contact. And then Nancy says by their eye contact. Interesting. Okay. Okay, question 2. Make an uplifting sentence using the words that are bolded, and the words are choices, there, at, nothing, do, can, look, let, they, is, we, us. So let's see how we can scrabble this into an uplifting sentence. Okay, so we're going to end this session by 11 o'clock. Okay. Okay, my choices are always unique and worth emulating. Interesting. Well, you have added your own words. We said from the words listed, you have to choose. You're not supposed to add your own words anyway. You're supposed to just choose from the given words and do that. Let's work that out. Choices, there, at, nothing, can, do, look, let, these, we, and us. Choose words from the listed words and make an uplifting statement. Okay. We have 1 more minute to go for this session before I hand over to the next presenter. Time it's fast spending and going. Like the answer for question 1, and a lot of people said that they can identify confidence in a person by their composure, you know, by eye contact, and then their gesture. So mostly you people are referring to nonverbal communication. Interesting. Person's eye contact. Oh. Eye contact, composure, eye contact. Okay. I have another question with the body language anyway, but our time is really still going. So I want to wrap this session up and then hand over to the next presenter, taking us on session 5 on this. Okay. Somebody said true. Okay.
Hello, Confidence, are you here?
Hello?
Yeah, I think Confidence, she's the person to check section 5. She's here, right? Yes, she's here.
I am here.
Okay, all right.
Over.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning to you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone, for such a time. The learning is indeed quite entertaining. We have so far seen section 1, which says is the course overview. We ran down to 2, creating positive relationships. We've seen 3 as well, which says is growing our self-awareness. We've done something on basic communication in section 4. Now we are looking at communication barriers. This is an inevitable variable in any course at all. For a communication to actually pass the test of time or achieve its required purpose, there must be hitches. So do every other course. So now on our screen, we're seeing problems. So what is the problem? There is a study, a case study that if it is not taken, we might not flow in this particular section. So I would want each and every one of us to listen keenly. Please pay attention. Let's look into this study. That is the only way we can deal with this barrier, this question we're seeing on the screen. Speedily, we have a story to look into, very short one. Says, you've taken a job working in a manufacturing plant in a fictional city called Midland. So it is about a 4-hour flight from where you currently live. You and your family are able to find a nice home to rent. And you're happy to notice that the couple living next door is approximately your age. The afternoon you move in, You and your family go next door to introduce yourselves to your neighbors. See, although they are polite, they do not seem very friendly. Several days later, while you are preparing dinner for a new associate at work, you run out of sugar and rush next door to borrow a cup. Say again, you receive a polite but cool reception from your neighbor. Then the question is, what is the problem? That's what you see on the screen. Let me summarize it. You, as a person, you got a job in another city, apart from where you are. You relocated. And getting to that neighborhood, you saw a neighbor, a next door neighbor, you went exchanging pleasantries. The neighbor accepted the pleasantry, replied, but not as you thought the person should. Just as what we were learning in previous sections. One of it, we said eye contact, gesture, body language, and the body language of the person didn't depict what you have at heart. To you, you were not welcomed. So this could be a barrier. And now the question is, what is the problem? Why did the neighbor act in such manner? That's why we're here. That's why you were seeing the screen as this. What is the problem? Studying it. The first option as to what the problem, why the neighbor didn't give you a warm to welcome as you desired, could be A, says they don't like your culture. B could be you appeared pushy by introducing yourselves as soon as you arrived. C said the Midlanders do not necessarily socialize with their neighbors. And the D part of it said Midland culture detects that newcomers to a neighborhood must wait for an established neighbor to initiate the association. And looking at the scenario under review, we are here to agree on something. Culture, as we go, we will see so many variables, things that hinders communication. Communication isn't that strenuous. It's not a hard nut to crack. It's just a matter of understanding and the people involved. Okay, let's look at this critically. These Midlanders that these other persons got to meet on entering the compound, they might not be what the impression they've given. These other persons didn't see them welcoming. And we are not asking what the problem is. The answer we are going to look at here, we are probably going to agree with is B. That you appeared pushy. The screen. That you appeared pushy by introducing yourselves as soon as you arrived. Because commonsensically, when you get to the neighborhood, you ought to act as someone who is just coming. Maybe just a wave. Hello, you greet and you proceed. They, on the other hand, will say, oh, we have new neighbors. Because it is believed in communication world that this thing takes, it's processional. Communication is in process. If you look at communication as a course, let's say something like mass communication as a broader course, they will tell you that communication follows has its stages. From when you even conceptualize a particular idea, from when you speak it out to the group of people you are talking to. So it is of process. Now you just arrived in this neighborhood. What you did was to go and start introducing yourself and to every other person there. You might be boring them. So we agree here that the only problem to this communication, that the scenario we've seen, is that the people coming have not chosen the right approach. They were actually pushy. Please, the next slide. Okay, in this group, this is a group exercise. These are the barriers to communication. If you can deal with these, one after the other, you have gone far in dealing with the problems of communication. When we say this experience, I will have to take them, have to run them one after the other for better understanding. What we said is experience. Another we see is emotion, background, attitude, culture, subject knowledge, prejudice, mood, wording, education, noise level, ambiguity, perception, non-verbal messages. In experience, the experience of a particular person about a particular topic tends to be a barrier. Let's say, for instance, a young person is coming to present a seminar or anything of such nature to a group of people who there may be more learned people there. You may not be communicating, especially if this other person has actually, if you're starting, to him, you're not starting well, it might tend to hamper communication because this other person seems to have known better. So what you're saying, you're a learner, but this is one of the things we learning today should try to let go of. No matter how underexposed a person is in a particular subject, we should give it our best listening ability. Again, we say emotion. Emotion, something like anger, love, can actually determine how we take a particular communication process. If somebody's angry, you might just be talking and you just, at the end of the day, realize that you've ended up making noise to the person's hearing. The person would not go home with anything. And if you love someone, there's a level that you love someone, you realize that no matter what you do, you will no longer do bad to the person. All these things constitutes to how we take communication. Again, it's background. Background matters. There is, if someone is let's say someone comes from the rich part of the background and to this other side, the poor, might not see anything sensible or anything to take home from what that person is doing because he has been groomed from a different background. And this thing does not align with what he or she had as in his common sense. That isn't or wasn't aligning with that. Again, we look at attitude. So this can stop us from hearing, observing, and perceiving the truth. A negative attitude, let's say, for instance, somebody is coming up with an attitude that to you, this thing should not be, whatever that person is saying might not make sense. Let's say there's a way of life you've been groomed to live. And this other person, the attitude he's coming to you, the first impression we always say it matters. The way the person is coming to you doesn't align with what you had known to be the right way of doing it. You won't take anything home. We say again, culture. Culture, we simply define culture as people's way of life. So people's way of life tends to be a hindrance to a particular communication, to a particular topic, to a particular teaching. You've been taught that this is good. Another person mounts the podium and tells you this is not good. You will not take it because originally you had learned something. In mass comm or in communication, there's something we call learning process. To learn, unlearn, and relearn. There are processes of learning. So what you have learned, academia says it is harder to change that which you've learned as a replacing already learned, already held view is a heinous task. So culture, what you have already been groomed with is almost impossible or very hard to change you from holding that view onto something else. Then we go to subject knowledge. The knowledge you have about it's a particular subject that is being taught. Okay, you've heard that culture is a way of life. Now I'm coming to tell you, no, culture isn't a way of life. I bring up another definition entirely. You won't be listening to me. That is subject knowledge. You have a knowledge about that already. So whatever another person is telling you doesn't concern you. So to say, we go straight to prejudices. Prejudice can be said to be bias. What you have to you, if a particular thing you don't value it, as in your mindset about that person, or let's say, let's use a human being as a case study here. This person, you've known that person to be a bad person. So whatever he's telling you, maybe he's teaching you religiously, no. This person cannot be a bad person and still be a religious leader. Things you have about a particular thing or about a particular person beforehand can hinder communication. Then the mood again is another thing. They say a hungry man is an angry man. Let's say you are hungry and you are in class and a teacher is teaching from today till tomorrow, even when you're looking at the person. That's why looking at does not guarantee learning. There is a place in this, at the course of this study, I wish so many of us would register. There is a place you see the difference between hearing and listening. There are two different things. So the mood that you are in, you might just be looking without hearing, not to talk of listening. So these are more. We have wordings. In wordings, say, how do you feel when someone starts an email without greeting? Things like that. When you are not greeted, maybe someone walks up to you and say, do you know the road to this place? To you, you might even ask, does this person have sense at all? The way you start a conversation matters. Somebody said one day, send me something. Okay, the person's phone wasn't with him, and he said, okay, I will use another phone to send you what you wanted. He used a neighbor's phone and sent it to the person. Immediately the person received it and said, the person who sent this thing does not have sense. Why? Because he didn't start with greeting, forgetting that it was an urgent matter. So words matter. We should not be economical with words when it has to do with communication. If there are people to greet before any other thing. Then we talk about education. Education, say if I am intimidated because someone approaches me and they have a lot more education than I do, even though they're asking me for help, I might become nervous. We tend to fear people who know more than us, but in communication, it shouldn't be so. Is a hindrance to learning. We shouldn't, because this person that is maybe this person speaks well, to you, you've concluded, I won't even understand anything. This person, the level with which he has gotten to, going there is a task that I'm not ready to face. So these are what hinders and hampers communication. We talk about noise level. When two persons are talking at the same time, we were taught those days that what we end up getting is noise. So noise in terms of communication, let's say everyone is talking now, all our mics are on. You realize that at the end of the day, nobody goes home with anything because noise have actually disrupted the whole thing and the whole exercise, null and void. We talk about ambiguity. In communication, you will be told that it is better you use clear terms that everybody will understand. That is what makes communication effective. Because of our time, other ones, we have perception, your view about the whole thing. You have non-verbal messages, you have hearing difficulties. We must not let aside this one. Some persons do not have problem with hearing. So these must be considered. Now we go to the next, like we said, applying the answers. This is, this section must be understood for those who come to class hereafter. This is a part that we have to, is a section of its own that the students have to go in pairs. Are you getting? For those who would be in class, it's for face-to-face. People playing, you understand better when you come to class because of our time and because of how broad than it is. We might not be able to look at, because if I just say, what are some of the things that can be, okay, this part said, what are some of the things that can be done in your organization's stroke department to communicate better? Okay, this is a different part. In every organization, you consider, just as you are now, you have become a communicator even by profession, because learning helps. So what are some of the things that can be done in your organization stroke department to communicate better? Having learned now, as you're putting the learning to process, what you should do is, okay, look at my organization, this and that are not right. So having learned this these are the things I have to bring in or introduce as I go back to my workplace so that this particular part that is suffering can be, helped so that inefficiency can be curbed maximally. So another one say, are these physical or mental activities? As you are looking into this course, it will help you actually have an answer to this. This problem that we have, does it have to do with mental activities or the physical one? Whichever one, you can introduce it as a person who have learned. Again, said, are these individual? It says, are these individual or team activities? We have individual activities. One person can just do that and it will be done. Then there is another one that is teamwork. If it is team activities, you just, okay, we assign this according to what a person can do. We assign this to this one or two persons. Okay, go about this and have this executed. Before you know it, an organization will be functional and everybody is happy. And the targets of the organization will be achieved. So if your organization or department were a zoo, what kind of inhabitants would it have? This, just like saying, okay, we produce this, what are the things that should be brought in? This is just the analogy here. If this course is supposed and is meant to help us bring in new ideas as we go back to whatever spheres of life we specialize in, say applying the answer, this is where I was actually commenting on. These answers that we cannot bring in answers without first going through that game. Is a kind of a game where the students will be paired, a group of persons who have to undergo a part, another. Just meet us in class and we will all play the game. Even the instructors will join in playing the game. Thank you so much as I hand over to the next person. Thank you so very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Confidence, for that great presentation. And Roy?
Yes. Princess is here, right? To take us on section 6. So Princess, over to you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's good to be here. In fact, it has been an amazing section so far. And I believe we'll take on something. And I promise it's going to be very interesting if you're able to enroll for the course. These are just summary or preambles of how much you're going to get when you're able to enroll for the course. So today, the section is, section 6 is asking good questions. Good. And if you look through summary of everything we've said, before you talk about asking the question, even look at the game we played, you understand that communication is the two-way thing. Just like what we've tried to establish over time. And to be a good communicator in everywhere you find yourself, personal, home, in fact, you should know that it shouldn't be where you're giving an instruction. When you're giving instruction, it's no more communication. It's now, you're giving instruction to a robot, actually. So let's look at the kind of question you should ask. Now we looked at self-awareness, we have to do with confidence, knowing yourself, you have to present yourself well. And we've looked at the skills, being a good communicator, the barriers, and now look at the questions that we should ask. So two of the most basic elements of good communication are asking questions and listening to others. For you to be a good communicator, you need to learn to be a good listener, all right? So you can't be a good communicator when you are not able to perceive and understand verbal and non-verbal answers or reception. And then we can also plan questions prior to meetings or conversations to ensure our questions have thought and depth to them. One way, again, is to know that, okay, I want to have some answers to a particular question, just like the icebreaker. I love that game so much, where you were asked to change it to an open-ended question. I saw a lot of amazing response. That means you've gotten the grasp of what it means to have depth, and you've thought about what you want your the other person to reply. So that is what it means to be able to bring questions out of depth and thinking. And then you should know that there are two types of questions from all what you said. Now you know that we have open and closed questions. Now, next slide, please. Now your closed questions is a yes and no kind of question. let's say, are you good? Yes. Do you like this place? Yes or no. No, it has no specific data attached to it, just like a fixed form of response. You understand? It require very little effort. It can, in fact, it can just, maybe someone wants to get you off the back and they feel that you're bugging, then they can just give you your yes and no answer. And you can't really get the depth of the conversation. Sometimes it's just used to end it. Let me just answer this person, let the person go. And it can be used to, you know, get the information. You won't get the depth of what you want to achieve. And it can lead to a lot of assumption. You can just say, okay, this person doesn't like me. Probably because you've not really gotten to, or maybe you're trying to sell something to a customer and you're like, do you like food? And the person, yes or no. Would you like this? And the person, no. That is already an end to that discussion. But there are ways, just like what you guys did in the icebreakers, there are ways you can start off the conversation. And even if the person moves, just like what we just discussed in our previous session, isn't good enough, you can use it to get the person or get the right response instead of making assumption. Next slide, please. That's for the closed questions anyway. So the open-ended question is very beneficial and it can help you to get the perception of others. It can be used to get the required or detailed information, and it can help to focus conversation because now you're getting the person's interest. You're getting the person's idea. Maybe the person is about to think, maybe before the person now answers, he's thinking, and okay, let me process what the question is about. You're getting the person's interest, thereby you're sustaining the conversation and you're getting somebody's opinion. Now the person is now feeling like, okay, this person really wants my thoughts about this. And you're also giving the person a permission. That's what it means to gain consensus. You're giving the person permission to be expressive. You're not inputting it on the person. That is where most organizations fail it. To even be as a leader, you're communicating you want to communicate effectively with your subordinates. As a boss, as a marketer, or whatever field of life you see yourself, even in a home, you have to make sure you bring it in an open-ended question, not in a closed question, because that would mean that you will just end up having a wall. Most times you gain a wall. So to gain the person's permission to know if you're communicating effectively, I would solicit open-ended questions, which is always the best or the best form of approach. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have three basic types of open-ended question. We have the leading question. It's like more like a conversation starter. I want to say something. Beverly is a cold or a odd environment, and I'm trying to find the right way to start up a conversation. You use the leading approach. Like, don't you just love the way vanilla ice cream smells? You know, it sounds weird, but at the same time, you're already getting the person to imagine. And then even if the person is all moody or kind of weird, you're already getting the person to relax. That's a good way to start in a tense environment. Or don't you just love the smell of sweet fragrance, perfume, or something like that? That is a leading question. Another one is rhetorical. Do I look like I care? It's like if it's the middle of a question, for example, although it depends on the approach, but a rhetorical question is a question that doesn't have a yes or a no response. Even if you really pay attention to the icebreaker, it was get to this type of question. It doesn't have really a yes or a no approach. That is normally used in a situation whereby you're trying to pass a mission that makes the person wants to think or rethink or reevaluate something. And we have the probing question. This is mostly what they use in investigation and in police. Can you help to investigate in more detail? Or can you help find out about this in more detail? Or can you talk to us more about this? These are probing questions. You're giving the person, remember, it deals with giving the person a permission to air their opinion. So that is the types of open-ended question we have. Next slide. So probing. When you probe, what do? You get others involved and they are participating. And then it helps you to get important information on the table. And then it forces you to listen, because now you're asking something that you want to get an information, and it helps you to improve communication on both sides. Now, communication is not complete if the person is not giving you a feedback. So when you are talking, just like what we've tried to do throughout this particular webinar, when you're talking, we'll try to get feedback from you too. So that is, probing is more like trying to get this other person's opinion in full. Next slide. So there are 5 ways to probe. Just like we say, probing. Why are we focusing more on probing? Because it helps us to really get the full effect of communication. So one way is an open question, and another way is to pause. Now, when you throw the question open to the people, you give them time to reevaluate, to pause, and to think, which brings us to reflecting or mirroring question. And then you can go ahead to paraphrase and then summarize the question. That way, it has fully sunk into the person you're trying to communicate or the people you're trying to communicate. Next slide. So there are certain ways things can go wrong when you're trying to communicate, and some of these ways are listed below. I'm nervous about speaking in public. I'm looking for a new car and I hate car shopping. These are statements that can actually push you to become edgy. I really hate my job. You know, if you, the listener, is not able to control, that's why we talked about self and awareness and a form of confidence. You know, it's able to get you to react. You hear statement like, I think the city is too hot. I really dislike cooking. You're not very good at your job. You know, imagine a boss telling you that straight up. It will just make the staff recoil. I do not like the way you speak to me. Okay, I think the report you wrote is terrible. Your new haircut is not flattering. There are ways you can communicate better and you still get the opinion of the person, or you still try to give the person the information you're trying, rather than going blunt. I hear people tell me that I'd rather go blunt, but if you really want to communicate and be able to make impact, there are certain ways you should be able to, you know, make your point known without necessarily pushing the button. Next slide. So other forms are, how difficult was it to prove someone being very negative? Okay, this is a more like questions that I want you to evaluate. I wouldn't mind if you put me, if you were able to give me answers in your chat as I go through the question, just briefly. How difficult was it to prove someone being very negative and not open to conversation? Now, we just looked at some very negative response, things that can push your buttons and then give some negative reaction. So let's assume in such scenario, how difficult was it for you to get a very negative answer? Or were the personal insult more difficult to prove than the general comment? I would like you to just give me your opinion on this briefly on the chat box, even as we go on. And then another one is, did the person being probed become more or less open to communication as the discussion went on? Let's look at the two ways, did you probe in the correct form? If you follow the process of probing, remember, it's an open-ended question that has the person to, you know, reflect and reevaluate, not necessarily being judgmental. So with what we've discussed as for the proper way of probing, you want to find out an information. How was the response? How did the person you were being probed, how did the person feel? How did you feel? Okay, so we would like you to just use this few minutes, like say 2 minutes, just give me just one word or a sentence to some of these questions in your chat box. How difficult was it to probe someone being very negative? You see this person is not receptive and not open to conversation. Have you ever probed such? Were the personal insult more difficult to probe than the general comments? You know, in a situation when insults are directed at you, how were you able to handle it? If you find yourself in a situation like that, how were you able to handle it? One way or the other, I think we must have gone through something like that. So I would like your personal comment or your personal experience briefly as we go forward. All right, next slide, please. I'm waiting for your response as we go forward. Okay, so can we take it back? Before we go to the next section, can we take it back? All right. So please, I need, even if it's 1 or 2 questions you were able to answer from this, let me hear your opinion. Let's know that we are on the same page and we are following through. Okay, I'm waiting. All right. Let's go on to listening skills, section 7. Why are we waiting for others? Okay, so listening skill, your ability to listen. So just like what I said, okay, now I want to test if we can you hear me? I want someone to answer me. You can just unmute yourself and let me hear you say you're hearing me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, I got one response. I need more response. About 23 participants. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you, Nancy. Say yes, the personal insult. Thank you for that. That shows we are communicating. So does it mean that no one can hear me? Please, I would like you to respond before we finally go into what listening skills is about. I just had just one response. Can you hear me? Hello? Oh, thank
Yes,
you.
we can
Thank
hear
you,
you.
thank you. All right, thank you. That is what I want. And that's an effective way of communicating. You not only talk, you also listen. All right. Okay, so next slide, please. So how do you rate your listening ability? You know, my colleague, the presenter before now, talked about hearing is different from listening. He talked about you be able to understand. Listening is a skill that involves you understanding, not just hearing. Most of the times, I think what people do is they hear you, you don't listen. You know, you just put it, okay, okay, and then the only way you can know a good listener is when the person is able to get the information and interpret it and understand it effectively. So listening is a skill that can be developed. And to be a good communicator, you need to spend time listening more than you talk. You listen more than you talk. I think that's what we do. Talk and talk and talk. We think we're passing information. And then maybe when one or two people around us are trying to make some very effective, trying to communicate or feedback, give us feedback, we don't get the information. We only hear because we are just focused on getting our own minds communicated without effectively knowing if the person is getting it back. Next slide. So number one way you rate, how you rate that, 6 ways you can rate your listening ability. One, you have to ask yourself some very key questions. That's the self-awareness coming to play here. Do you enjoy listening? Is it easy for you to listen with interest to a large variety of subjects? Do your friends seek you out to discuss a decision or a problem when they need help? These are evaluation questions. Does your attention usually stray towards other groups of people entering or leaving the room? When you are in a meeting, do you easily get distracted? Do you interrupt in conversation? Okay, are you more apt to thinking ahead to what you will say next rather than weighing what you are being told? You know, that is what we talked about, hearing and listening. Do you hear to speak back, or do you listen to understand the message behind what is being said? So those are one ways you can go and evaluate yourself to see if you actually have the listening ability, because you can't communicate if you can't listen. Next slide. So other ways you can actually help yourself to know if you're listening is, do you stop listening to everything when you strongly disagree with the speaker? For example, the point is not going on well with you. Do you just, okay, I'm not hearing again, I choose to disagree at this point? Or do you assume or anticipate regard the other person's view? Do you assume or anticipate regarding the other person's? Do you want to listen? Are you really ready to open up your mind to say, okay, I want to know what this person is about to say? Or do you feel you can judge most people quickly before hearing them out? Do you generalize? Do you encourage others to elaborate or clarify points you have misunderstood? Do you listen to what is not said, such as the obvious omission? Like most people, they will listen to a statement to pick out the errors. is that what you do? So these are ways you can know if you are actually good in listening or you are just good in hearing. So if you can build up your listening skill, it will help you to also become effective in communicating. And we can help you achieve this, honestly. That is why we are bringing out this course for you, so that you'll be able to build up the skills, and in order for you to also help you communicate better. Next slide. All right. So looking at the questions that we just go through, we will not really have time because of time spent. Would have wanted you to look at what we've checked. Like can we go back to the questions from the point first to the last? Yeah. Yes, from the exactly. We would have want you to go over it to really reevaluate yourself and ask yourself, are you a good listener or are you a good hearer? Okay. So, but because of our time, we would not be able to take it. It will be made available in our full course, where we will have time to discuss in length and be able to discuss this in full. So as I would encourage us to try to enroll and also, try to get the this full course, so that we can be able to build a strong communication skill. So in case if you were able to go through it or test yourself, there are different interpretations to this. You have 20, which is strong communication skill. That's if you score yourself from this question, you got 20. Your answers are between 10 to 18. It means your average. And if your answers are 10 and below, it means you need to work on it. It's time for us to go, which is why we're here. So it's amazing and it's fun for us to learn how to really work on our communication skill. I'm really glad we are all here to be able to hear this out. And I hope that over time, I encourage you to really enroll for this course. It will help us to build our communication skill. All right. Okay. So yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a great one, and I hope we've learned a lot. Roy, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Princess. You have done well. So, but you are also to take, you are the lead facilitator for this course, so you are going to coordinate the question and answer section. So, in case anyone has a question, anything, you can throw it open. Just anchor the question and answer before we wrap up. Over.
Oh, wow, this is beautiful. So if we have questions, this is an opportunity for us to ask. Okay, so I would want us to ask questions. That is the only way we can know that, okay, that this whole time we spent with this webinar was quite effective. We would like your answers to be in the chat so that I can read it out and we'll answer it effectively. Thank you. So I'm waiting. If you have any questions, please feel free. It's an opportunity for you to ask.
Okay, I think I can stop my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so do we have anyone with questions? Floor is open. Okay, Samson Emily K wants to ask a question. Please do well, sir.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
And I want to appreciate
Good morning, sir.
the facilitators for this course. It's been a great time, and I believe that it's something that will benefit every one of us. Just to inform us that for the course, we are going to create a WhatsApp group for those who are interested, especially to get the full package. Because what we presented is just a fraction of the entire course because of the time factor. So for those who would want to participate fully and get the other components of the training, like we have a robust student manual, student study guideline. We also have a learning tool that is individualized. Every participant fills it and tracks and documents his or her learning. And it's a tool for quick referencing. So we are going to create a group and share it. Mr. Roy, I think we need to share the link in this chat.
Yes, I'm sharing now.
Okay, so that those who are interested can join. We'll also get others to join the group. Then we are making an offer for those who participated in this free webinar. The full course goes for 15,000 Naira or its equivalent. But for those of us who are on this call and those who may want to take advantage of the offer, we are giving a 50% discount that is time bound. In the WhatsApp group, we are going to share the time within which we expect those who want to take advantage of the 50% discount to pay. And thereafter, it will revert to the original fee. So we want to appreciate everyone once again, and then let's open up. If there are gray areas that you would want us to make further clarification so that your understanding will be enhanced, we are more than glad to receive them. So thank you, and over.
Thank you, sir. Okay. All right, so we are still waiting. Just like our boss said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We just have a few minutes before we round up the session, the free webinar. But before we do, I just want to appreciate everyone. Thank you, Havron. Thank you for everyone who was able to join us and was there from the beginning and to the end, who was able to participate and then give us, we hope you enjoyed the whole session. Please feel free to ask as many questions even after now. You can always consult, you can always contact us, and then we will get you the necessary information that you need. All right, so thank you so much. So, Roy?
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, for those who might be interested in taking the full course, you are free to join the group link. I've shared the group link on the chat box, so you can just tap on it to join the WhatsApp group for further engagements for the full course material. So thank you all for joining us today. Then next week, we still have another free webinar coming up on psychological and health safety. So anyone who might be interested should also join us same time next week, Saturday. So thank you all for participating. God bless you and have a nice weekend.
Bye.